Welcome back to the news at 10. Commercial Partners Asset Management is leveraging on technology through Tradifee to provide retail investors the opportunity to exploit the fixed income market with investment options. Tradifee is an innovative mobile and web application which enables individuals to invest in federal government bonds and treasury bills directly from their phone, laptop, or tablets.
Gives individuals the opportunity to invest.
Tradifee, powered by Commercial Partners Asset Management, is fostering financial inclusion in fixed income securities in the Nigerian market. Commercial Partners says Tradifee is bringing disruption to the fixed income market, taking out the frustration of many years.
For us, we're showing you your bids, we're showing you your offers. You come in and you buy. When you want to go out, you just log on. You see where the bid is, which is where you can sell, and you get out.
Why is FMDQ, as you think of, excited? Because people think FMDQ is a wholesale market. Why is FMDQ excited about a retail product, essentially? Because what Commercio is bringing to all of us in this country is a retail market. FMDQ is actually not a wholesale market. But you start your business from wholesale. We started from wholesale. But since we started, we have been thinking of how to extend this market to the retail segment. So we're excited that Commercio has figured this out.
The regulators believe innovations like Tradifee will broaden investor base in retail investment.
Apart from the fact that this is an initiative that will develop the capital market, the fact that the federal government is a major player in the market and we're interested in developing the market, that explains why I'm here. And when I looked at the website and it did say, they were targeting the retail investors, that certainly made it more interesting.
Tradifee also offers convenience, safety, and liquidity.
So the experience is a total package. So you have the convenience to sit down in the back of your house, actually log onto the app, whether on Android or iOS, and actually do your investment. The safety is there because you are investing in government security.
For us as a business, it's very significant, and to have both the regulators, the DMO, DG was here today, as well as the regulators, CBN. It really shows, the support and acceptance of what we're trying to do. The convergence of finance and technology, fintech as they call it these days, is something that we're very keen to be at the forefront of.
Commercial Partners Asset Management says it aims to build an investment ecosystem of choice with the strategic intent of empowering minds in Africa.
For more business news now, here's Anne Mawudu.
Meanwhile, on business stories, let's begin with funds that are valued at over £211 million sterling. That's about 82.2 billion naira belonging to the late head of state, General Sani Abacha, has now been seized from a Jersey account. The money had been locked in the account held there in Doraville Properties Corporation, a British Virgin Islands company. This discovery has been published in a British tabloid Metro, which adds that the money is now being held by the government until authorities in the US and Nigeria come to an agreement on how it should be distributed. Back in 2014, the island's Attorney General, at the request of the US authorities, applied for and was granted a restraining order from the Royal Court over the Jersey Bank account balance in Doraville. Late General Sani Abacha, who ruled Nigeria between 1993 until his death in 1998, allegedly laundered money through the US into the Channel Islands. Shareholders of dual-listed energy trader Oando have been reacting to the decision by the Securities and Exchange Commission to sanction the board following an outcome of a forensic audit of the company's finances. In response to the unfolding crisis, the shareholders faulted the capital market regulator for lack of due diligence and fair hearing. A majority investor of Oando, Mr. Kabiru Tambari, says it is clear that the SEC wants to kill the company. How else would you explain an action such as that defies logic? Those were his words. He says we need the shareholders whom the SEC are meant to be protecting and not satisfied with the way the audit has been handled. Mr. Tambari warns that if the crisis continues, shares of the dual-listed energy company will be badly devalued, while the company will not be able to pay salaries as well as dividends to its shareholders. He further asks the federal government and federal high court to look into the matter carefully and adjudicate accordingly. Royal Dutch Shell says that it is expecting to increase its dividend payout and buybacks to shareholders on $125 billion or even more from 2021 to 2025 via dividends and buybacks. The energy giant has raised its guidance for organic free cash flow in 2025 to $35 billion at an oil price of $60 a barrel and anticipates shareholder returns at $90 billion. The company will now invest an average of $30 billion in capital expenditure a year during the period, capped at $32 billion, and this will include minor acquisition spend of up to $1 billion, but it will exclude major inorganic opportunities. Shell says that it expects to raise its dividend when it is closer to completing the current $25 billion share buyback program, and it's maintaining its quarterly dividend in the first quarter of this year at 47 cents a share. South Africa's economy contracted 3.2% in the first quarter of this year due to slow activity in the country's manufacturing sector. But year-on-year, growth was zero. That's when you compare to forecast of growth of 0.7% in the previous session. The country's Statistician General describes this as the largest economic contraction in almost a decade. Analysts are saying that the data will come as a shock to President Cyril Ramaphosa of South Africa, who returned to office after national elections in May with a pledge to revive growth and attract foreign investment. The news has sent the South African rand up to about 1.2% weaker against the dollar at 14.61. The domestic stock market is closed for today and Wednesday, that's tomorrow, for the Muslim holiday, but it's positive performance for the U.S. and European counterparts after the Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell hinted that it is open to ease in monetary policy to save the economy. Meanwhile, Asian markets have dropped amid lingering trade tension. And that's Business News Tonight. Thank you for watching. I'm Anne Nwawadu.
Thanks, Anne. Let's get a wrap-up of the international news. Juliana Olanka is standing by with Around the World in 5.
Good evening from the Channel's newsroom in London. Thousands of protesters have turned out to demonstrate against President Trump's highly controversial state visit to the UK. After much pomp and ceremony on day one, the focus turned to business on day two and included talk of a very substantial trade deal for Britain after Brexit. Simon Pusey reports.
A tale of two welcomes. The official state greeting of smiles and handshakes, and the unofficial people's welcome. It's thought around 250,000 people protested in central London alone. But the US president was kept well away from the campaigners and in front of the cameras paid tribute to Prime Minister Theresa May and the UK.
Thank you for the invitation to memorialize our fallen heroes and for your partnership in protecting and advancing the extraordinary alliance between the American and the British people. It's the greatest alliance the world has ever known.
Among the protesters outside, the leader of the opposition who boycotted yesterday's banquet with the president.
So I say to our visitors that have arrived this week, think on, please, about a world that is one of peace and disarmament, is one of recognizing the values of all people, is a world that defeats racism, defeats misogyny.
Also critical of Mr. Trump's red carpet reception, the man involved in a long-running Twitter spat with him, the Mayor of London.
We've got to be very careful about not giving the impression that we condone some of the things that he's said and done over the last 2-3 years, from separating children from their parents on the Mexican border to using racist, derogatory and offensive language, to walking away from the Paris climate change agreement.
Mr. Trump's visit diplomatically has so far been seen as a success, with the president saying a phenomenal trade deal with the UK was on the cards. But with more than 3,000 police officers deployed for the occasion, people are bound to question the price tag and whether an estimated £40 million cost is worth it for someone quite so divisive. Simon Pusey, Channel's Television News.
Sudan's military leaders have called a snap election, and all existing agreements with the main opposition have also been cancelled. The The announcement follows growing international condemnation over the violence against protesters. More than 35 people were killed and hundreds of others injured when security forces stormed a sit-in in the capital yesterday. The Transitional Military Council says elections will be held within 9 months, and it's promised an investigation into the crackdown.
The human rights grievances that led to the protest in the first place will not go away if the military simply decides to impose its own election schedule. There needs to be a discussion about the grievances that sparked the protest in the first place, if any transition in Sudan is to be sustainable and peaceful.
China has hit out at the US Secretary of State for comments he made on the 30th anniversary of the Tiananmen Square protest. Mike Pompeo criticized the country's human rights record and called on Beijing to reveal exactly how many people died during the government crackdown in 1989. Estimates range from several hundreds to thousands as Chinese troops opened fire on students who were calling for democratic freedoms and transparency. The Democratic Republic of Congo's Ebola outbreak has reached what's been described as a sad and frustrating milestone. More than 2,000 cases have now been diagnosed. The World Health Organization fears that number could significantly rise, saying threats and security incidents are holding back the agency's response.
If we can't get access to communities, we are not able to do those services, and then obviously that's opportunity for the virus to spread in a more intense way.
Residents and businesses in West Alton, Missouri are bracing for the worst as floodwaters from the Mississippi River continue to rise. The U.S. National Weather Service says it could peak at around 36 feet. That's around 11 meters by Thursday.
I never thought I would see this water this high again after 93. They told us that was a 500-year flood, but with all the levees they've built along the river, there's no floodplain anymore.
Russia has test-fired a new anti-ballistic missile from its range in Kazakhstan. The Defense Ministry declared the launch a success, saying the interceptor missile hit its target, but the Kremlin declined to name the rocket system. And that's your international news around the world in 5.